Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we are looking at a new Arbok card. Although we're going to be looking at Coughing very shortly. They're kind of like a pair, though they do deserve their own consideration. So, Arbok then. You'll notice it does have Jesse in the artwork, which is kind of cool. Coughing we'll look at in a minute has James in the artwork, and actually shout out to Ekins, who has Articuno in the artwork. Their 3 legendary birds are hidden in the artwork of 3 of the Pokemon. So, Arbok then, what do we see? 120 HP, largely uninspiring to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. It means that the non-GX Boswell, the one from Forbidden Light, will get an easy one-hit KO. And frankly, there's a whole bunch of Pokemon that do 120. The new Silvally we looked at the other day does 120. It is way better to do 130, and it is way better to have 130 HP, boo, hiss, etc. We also see that it's got a retreat cost of 2, which is honestly kind of rubbish. We don't like a retreat cost of 2. And it's got a weakness to Psychic, which is alright, to be honest with you. I mean, you got Malamar decks running around at the moment. But their non-GX attacker of choice tends to be Giratina, and Giratina does 130. Although there are a weirdly large amount of Pokemon coming out that do 70 damage that are Psychic, like the Mewtwo, for instance, with the awesome ability that recovers supporter cards, so maybe that will go and get a one-hit KO, and we will be a little bit sad. But you are a Psychic Pokemon. It means you can use Spell Tag to do a bit of extra damage. It means that you can use Malamar to accelerate a little bit of energy. And it means you're hitting weakness against stuff like the aforementioned Buzzwole. But remember that by the time this comes out, Buzzwole GX would have rotated the previous day. So they're the basics out of the way. What does it actually do? Well, it's got a really, really nice ability. When this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from your opponent's attack, discard 2 cards from your opponent's hand without looking. So you just get to discard 2 random cards from your opponent's hand. The thing is, this is really, really good. Like, really good. To put this into context, Delinquent was so good, it was banned. Delinquent was too good to the point where we all went, yeah, we can't have Delinquent. Delinquent's over the top. Delinquent needs to be banned down with Delinquent. And Delinquent discarded 3 cards, not 2, admittedly, but your opponent got the choice. Your opponent could choose whichever 2 cards they liked from their hand and discard them. Whereas this is too random. So your opponent could, in theory, have 9 cards in their hand, and you just happen to hit their only 2 supporters, let's say a Cynthia and a Lily, and then they've got nothing to use the following turn. But come on, how often is your opponent going to have 9 cards in hand? Most of the time, your opponent's probably going to have like 3 or 4 cards in their hand. Because remember, this will be at the end of their turn. It's when they attack. So they attack at the end of their turn, they knock out Arbok, and then you get to discard the cards from their hand. So they've been using cards during their turn. They've been attaching energy, evolving Pokemon, playing their trainer cards. You don't usually save cards in your hand. But now you put your opponent in an awkward predicament, because what happens if they want to play every card in their hand, and then they basically say, right, let's say for argument's sake, they are playing a Malamar deck. So they save a Malamar and a Cynthia. Because they've got an Inkay on the bench, they save a Malamar ready to evolve, and then next turn they go, right, doesn't matter what I top deck, evolve Malamar, play a Cynthia, and we do this all the time. We keep 2 cards in our hand, knowing that at the beginning of the next turn we can play those 2 cards, and it basically guarantees us a good start to the following turn. Well, Arbok takes away that option. Arbok goes, go on, mate. Go on. Keep those 2 cards in your hand. See what happens. Now, the obvious counterpoint here is, well, alright, fine. But come on. Just don't KO Arbok. Brilliant. Please feel free to not take a prize on my turn so that I don't wreck your hand. I am absolutely fine with that. I am absolutely fine with it. If that's what's going on, you're winning that exchange, ladies and gentlemen. And then, of course, the other, following that one step further, the other obvious point, I'll just gust up something from the bench. Well, yeah, about that. We're losing Guzma to the rotation. And we're losing Pokemon Catcher to the rotation. And we're losing Counter Catcher to the rotation. Now, to be fair, we're still going to have Custom Catcher. But we're also losing Lycanroc. We're losing our good gusting effects. So whereas in the format we're in at the moment, it's really quite easy to just be like, I'll get something off the bench, it's fine. That's not the case when we hit the rotation. I talked about a rotation in my video yesterday, and there were certain themes, and one of the themes going into next rotation is good luck gusting. It ain't going to happen terribly easily, ladies and gentlemen. Gusting is not something on which we're going to be able to rely. So I really, really like this. First of all, don't forget we're going to have reset stamp by this point. It's a one-sided N. So your opponent shuffles a hand into their deck and draws cards equal to their remaining prizes. And then, of course, we've got this. Now, what would be really cool, keeping the evil Pokemon together, let's combine this with Honchkrow GX. Honchkrow GX has Chaos Wheel as an ability. Your opponent is unable to play tools, special energy, or stadium cards from their hand. And a GX attack for a double colorless energy, or for 2 energy now, lets you look at your opponent's hand and discard 2 cards. Well, imagine if you get to do this after rocking Arbok. You drop Arbok, your opponent is forced to KO it, they lose 2 cards, then you use Honchkrow. You can legitimately be putting your opponent into top deck mode here. You can be forcing your opponent to rely on drawing a good card from the top of their deck, or they lose. And then we also need to take a quick look at Jesse and James, but let's see what the attack does first. I feel like it's going to be relevant. So the attack, according to the lovely Joe from Cerebi.net, for 1 Psychic and 2 colorless energy, does 50 damage. No. If you have Jesse and James in your discard pile, this attack does 130. Oh. Yeah, that's a lot better. That's an awful lot better. Not if you played it the previous turn, if you've got a copy in your discard pile. Now, this is a psychic Pokemon, so it means with all the Pokemon search we're losing to rotation, you're still going to have Mysterious Treasure. So you're going to be able to search this out with that. And oh, look, it discards a card from your hand to search out a psychic or dragon Pokemon. So discard Jesse and James. Or just use it. Jesse and James is fun. Both players discard 2 cards from their hand. So you make your opponent discard 2 cards from their hand. So you're already hurting their hand doing that. And then if they take out Arbok, they lose another 2 cards. For Jesse and James, they have a choice of which cards they discard. For Arbok, you get to choose for them, but you choose at random. You don't get to look at what you're discarding. So thematically here, in coughing as we're going to see shortly, really does, or wheezing as it is, really does follow this same template here. It's really good for disruption. We are destroying our opponent's hand. And like I said, I think you should add Honchkrow into this. But the combination of Jesse and James, plus Jesse's Arbok here, to be clear, it's not called Jesse's Arbok, it's called Arbok, but come on, it's Jesse's Arbok. I really like it. Now, as for the amount of damage you're doing here, 130, well, I told you at the beginning of the video, it is way better to have 130 HP and hit for 130 damage. And all right, you've only got 120 HP, but at least you're hitting 130. So were you to come across something like a White Kyurem or like a Granbull or one of the million other 130 HP non-GXs out there, you will be getting a straight one-hit KO. But 130 is also extremely relevant when we start looking at the tag team GXs that are weak to Psychic. So if we look at Muck and Alolan Muck, they've got 270 HP. You're hitting 130, which doubled is 260, but remember Shrine of Punishment's a thing, so you will need Shrine of Punishment here, but the 10 damage that puts on between turns will get a one-hit KO. And that's seen some success and play in Japan with Malamar. Now, the other one we've got is Marshadow and Machamp, which I still believe is the worst tag team GX we've had so far. Same weakness to Psychic, same 270 HP, so again, You just need a Shrine of Punishment and you're getting a KO here. If you're hitting for weakness, if you're hitting against non-GXs, this is great. Against GXs, we're losing Choice Band and that's huge. With a Choice Band, you'd be able to get a Dedenne GX, but you can't. So that is going to hurt just a little bit. But don't forget we still got Spell Tag. And if you are using Spell Tag with this, you get to put 4 damage counters down when it's KO'd by damage. And that's kind of fun. Because then your opponent KOs you. You get to discard 2 cards from their hand and put 4 damage counters on their Pokemon in any way you like. They are not going to want to KO you here. And incidentally, we're also losing Field Blower to the rotation, which is going to make it so much more difficult for your opponent to get rid of Spell Tag. So they're just going to run right into it and it's going to be hilarious. I should mention for both Spell Tag and for Arbok's ability, let's make it super clear, it is when you are KO'd by damage from an attack, so dropping damage counters a la Spell Tag, or poison or things of that nature, although they will get a KO, they won't activate the ability. I'm going to be giving this 3 Wassies. I think it's really good disruption, but I don't necessarily know which decks it fits into. I like it as a non-GX attacker, but Giratina can also be a non-GX attacker and it's a basic. I like it for disruption, but is it quite disruptive enough? I think it's an awful lot of fun. I think it's going to be great at pre-releases, as long as you get Jesse and James as well. And I do think there's potential here, but I do worry it's going to be not quite good enough damaging-wise for a stage 1 and not quite good enough at disruption. But either way, this is a lot of fun. And thematically, totally works. But ladies and gentlemen, I would very much like to know what you think about this. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. But please do remember the rule. Be nice, would you? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.